Hey, welcome to another episode of A Drink with Derek here in beautiful, sunny Las Vegas, Nevada. A chilly 111 degrees today, I think.
It's
And
freezing.
I'm here in Henderson, Nevada, actually, and Adam Barr is on the other side of town. Adam Barr, who was general manager for 2.5 years with the male dance revue, Aussie Heat. I don't want to call it a male strip show. That isn't technically what it's called.
No,
correct? Male dance
technically
revue.
not. Yeah, technically
You were,
not. I mean,
but
yeah.
you're a performer in the show. You ran the show. You are an entrepreneur. We'll get into some of that here a little bit later on. But you're one of those rare people that, actually, by the way, and people that are tuning in and seeing you for the very first time that have not seen you on the show, this Harrison Ford fugitive look that you have going
This is
not normally part of the Adam Barr persona. This is your COVID look.
Yeah, normally I'm clean shaven. But I decided to grow a beard in protest of COVID because I hate it.
Hey, I don't blame you. You're from Australia, unless that's a great fake accent that I've been giving you shit about for all this time.
No, you can't fake an Australian accent.
Where are you from in Australia originally?
From Melbourne, Australia.
Okay.
Which is the east coast, southernmost point of the east coast, along the beach. So I grew up on the beach in Melbourne. Can't say enough good things about Australia. It's just an incredible place.
I've heard it's an amazing place to go. I just I can do without that 75-hour plane ride that it takes to get over there.
Yeah, so that sucks. I mean, now
it's brutal.
It's brutal, especially with, the bullshit TSA and all the, waiting around 3 hours before a flight. And then, when you get there, you wait for your luggage. So it's such a long, my parents live 3 hours away from Melbourne. So along the beach, so you've got to drive, or you can get a train. So for me, sometimes it's beyond a 24-hour from door to door to get from my house to, because, you travel to the airport, you get there, you load your luggage, you go through TSA, and then you got a 16 or 17-hour flight. And then once you get off the flight, you go through immigration, all that crap, so it's just such a long day. And if you don't sleep on the plane, which I normally travel economy, so I don't, and I'm 6'3", so sitting in economy is a nightmare. And so for that, you do an economy flight to Washington, even though it's 6 hours, you get by, you watch a movie, you fucking read a book, whatever. But if you do a flight that's 16, 17 hours, even though there's movies, it doesn't matter. If you can't sleep and you're cramping in your leg, it's the worst. So
I'm the same way.
Other than that, yeah, Australia is epic. Really, really epic.
Well, you've been here in the States for a while. What is the dumbest thing that Americans do to portray Australia? I would guess Outback Steakhouse has probably got to be at the top of the list.
Yeah, Outback Steakhouse is pretty inaccurate. I think no, there's no dumb things. Americans don't do dumb things. It's just that I think there's some inaccuracies with how Australia, because it's pretty easy to trick some of my American friends into what we do in Australia. I used to tell some of my American friends that we ride kangaroos to school, and we have a joke in Australia. We call these things called drop bears, and they're basically a really aggressive bear that drops down from trees and attacks you. They don't exist, but Australians will tell Americans that they do, and so it gets them really scared. Just because we have 8 out of the 10 most deadly things on the planet are in Australia, so it's really easy to kind of trick people in that way. But you could do that for any country in any way. You know what I mean? You could go to Spain and tell people in China that they do this. So it's the same thing. It's just yeah, I wouldn't say Americans are ignorant to Australians' culture. I'd say most Americans are pretty good with it.
Hey, you got to have fun with it.
Of course, it's great.
You can't joke about it. I mean, what use is it? Yeah.
Australians are very, very big on the we call it take the piss out of ourselves. It's essentially what it is. It's like we're happy to make fun of ourselves to lighten a situation, or call ourselves dumb, or call ourselves stupid, or all those type of things. As just a way of softening the room and just making everyone realize that it's just a bit of fun and we're all friends. It can get out of hand if people don't know how to do it, but culturally it's something that we do a lot. And sometimes it's negative. Like in some industries, we call it tall poppy syndrome, which is what we do with that is if someone is acting like they're too big for their boots, like let's say a girl's really pretty or a guy's really handsome and they're acting like it. the thing will be everyone around will try and bring them down. So that works good in a lot of cases when you have got people that are acting out of sorts, but it's negative in regards to people that are trying to pursue a dream or someone that's got something in mind that might be a little bit away from the status quo. Because say for me, for example, when I tried to pursue my acting stuff in LA, a lot of people would be like, "Oh, that's stupid. Why would you do that? It's impossible." And so you've got this tall poppy syndrome because they can't do it. They don't want to see you succeed.
So this is what people in Australia were saying to you when you were trying to do this in LA?
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily to me that much because a lot of my friends are very supportive and family, so I'm pretty lucky. But it's just an underlying cultural thing where you don't want anyone to get too big for their boots.
Right.
So, and it's a great thing. I don't think people should be too big for their boots. Everyone should be humble. We all put our pants on one leg at a time, right? But my thing is that it also, you don't want to not encourage people that have a bigger dream or have a bigger goal. You want to be able to cultivate that and encourage it,
No, exactly. I mean, you want to bust people's balls, but you don't want to be rude about it and
be
a douchebag. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't want them like being like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do it. Like, no, have a crack, have a go at it. It's fucking, it's life. You have a go at it, you don't succeed. Like for me, going to LA was a massive failure. Like I was there for 4 years trying to do it, completely failed. But it led me to where I am now. So, and I'm the happiest I've ever been. So, like it's all part of the process. It's just, you've got to be able to accept failure and you've got to be able to accept, I guess, negative people. If you can't accept negative people,
no, exactly. You can't let that. If you can't let that negativity roll off of you, you're just going to be, you're going to sink like a stone. There's no doubt.
100%.
Now you've been here in Vegas now for a while. And help me understand this. How come all of these male dance review shows come from Australia? Why are all the attractive men apparently from Australia? How come there's not like how come there's not a Men of Milwaukee dance review?
There's only two, but there's a couple of. I'll tell you what I think it is. I think it's cultural. I think culturally, a lot of the other countries that may be able to run reviews, I don't think that they do it because I don't think it's in their culture. I think European culture is pretty conservative, even though we sort of feel like Europeans go on the beach with their little fucking dick togs and they're comfortable. But I think generally speaking, Europe is a pretty conservative place, and so is Asia. So you've got these countries that were prepared to do shows like this, and I think Australia is just so easygoing that I think that's what it is. And plus, you've got this image of I don't know where it came from, of this tanned up surfer guy that is really lean and whatever. But the truth is male reviews from Australia are not good dance reviews. Very rarely are the guys good dancers, which is where Aussie Heat changed the narrative a little bit. Like Thunder from Down Under, fantastic show. Don't talk negatively about it, but they don't hire dancers. They've always hired like really good looking construction workers, and they teach them like a 1, 2, 3 kind of dance.
Right.
Whereas a lot of like Magic Mike was one of those first shows that actually hired dancers that looked really great, as opposed to good looking guys that we can teach a couple of 2 steps to.
Right.
And so we were one of the first shows actually in Las Vegas and in the world, actually, because we were before Magic Mike. We were one of the first shows to do that, where we only hired dancers, not just beefcakes.
Well, now, how did you get into this?
Oh, well, so I was in the military, and when I left the military, I was still in the military in Australia, and I went to a nightclub and I was dancing with all my buddies. We had 40 of us from my platoon, all in this nightclub, just spread out amongst the club. And I was just a dickhead. I was a 20-year-old idiot that thought that, I was on steroids and I was all buffed up. And so I took my shirt off and went on one of those podiums and started dancing. I'm still embarrassed about it to this day, so don't laugh. But I took my shirt off like a real douchebag does, got up on the podium, and I was about 120 kilos. So it's like 240 pounds of muscle. And I just was like dancing on this podium. And this girl just comes up and grabs my leg and wanted to talk to me. And she's like, hey, do you want to join a male review? It performs here at this club after or before the club opens. And I said, yeah, sure. That sounds great. Because she was like talking it up like, all these screaming girls and blah, blah, blah. And, I was single at the time. And so I was loving it. I ended up joining that show. Couldn't dance to save my life, mind you. But it didn't matter. It was just a show of guys that were just models and bodybuilders and whatever. And it was just a show, and it was so much fun. And then that show, I did that show on and off for about 7 years. But that show, actually, the owner of that show led me to get the job in Japan, which then led me on the direction the path that took me from there. But I kept, every time I come back to Australia, I would do that show, and that show progressed really quickly. It went from a club to a casino showroom, and then it just grew and grew and grew. And so it was only one night a week because Australia is not obviously as big as Vegas. So we would have one show every Saturday night, but we would have 350, 400 girls at the show. And we just felt like fucking rock stars. You couldn't leave the front of the theater. You have to go out the back way because all the girls would hang out the front. It was like, and for us, we were just dickheads. Like we didn't know, like we weren't like thinking about that kind of thing seriously. We're just like, I can't believe these girls are so crazy for us idiots. We've got nothing to offer, like, so, and then we'd go across to the club across the road, whom I phoned, and we'd get paid to go to that club because we were sort of not celebrities, but we had that name. And, so with a group of us would come across to that club, we'd get paid for that. So, and it was all cash. So I was making, 300, 400 bucks, which is a lot of money cash, just to fucking dance for 400 girls and go over a club and get free drinks. So it was a good lifestyle and it was fun. But then inadvertently, so what happened was that then led me to one of the guys that I used to work with in that show decided to open up a show in Vegas. And I just happened to be living in Los Angeles. And he said, because I was emceeing, and he'd seen me do a couple of TV shows and stuff where I was an MC. He said, "Do you want to MC the show when I open it in Vegas?" And I said, "Sure." And so being one of my friends, I came out for, all the initial meetings and everything with, it was actually with John Bentham, I know is a friend of yours. And then we were put at the D Hotel in the D showroom. And I was part of that.
Ivory Star Productions. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so, and they were great to us, and we really enjoyed being there. Unfortunately, the venue was small, and being downtown, the owners at the time felt like we weren't able to progress. So then they moved to the V Theatre with David Sachs. So we went from the D to the V, which is always a good move. And then so basically, David Sachs took us on, and we started performing at the V Theatre, and the show just grew and grew and grew. And one thing from the start, because I was always involved with the management somewhat from the start, being friends with the owners, we just wanted to cultivate a different type of show. So we didn't want the usual show. And we knew that juggernauts like Thunder and Chippendales are very difficult to compete with on a head-to-head scale. So we knew we needed a different type of product. So what we did is we created a product which A, had professional dancers, B, was more focused on comedy and interaction. Therefore, we brought in the thing called the Aussie dollar, which was like a tipping dollar that the girls could purchase prior to the show. So we'd have all these type of unique little things going on with our show, and it actually worked really well. So we had the highest rated show in Las Vegas, or the fifth highest rated show in Las Vegas, but the highest rated adult show in Las Vegas for years on TripAdvisor, Yelp, Vegas.com, and even Google. We were the highest rated, and that was because of our attention to detail. We spent a bit more time with the customer, so it wasn't just like the girls were sitting there watching guys up on stage. They were part of the show. So and that came from me conducting the show as the MC. I had to make sure that everyone felt really comfortable and having a lot of fun, and didn't, because traditionally girls don't, it's not like, it's seen as normal if me and you go to Sapphires and go get some tits in our face. That's like totally normal. But traditionally girls going to strip clubs hasn't been like a mainstream thing.
No,
for whatever reason. But girls, of course, should be able to enjoy it as much as me and you should. So we just really wanted to cultivate that, and it worked. It worked really well. We had our issues, and those issues were mostly, firstly, you come up against in Vegas, it's very, very difficult as a small show or a small business in general because everything is against you. Like MGM and Caesars basically control 90% of the strip. Now, Thunder from Down Under is an MGM show and Chippendales is a Caesar show. So our choices of venues where we can perform are limited to like 10% of the strip. And
Sure.
then so on top of that, ticket sellers, a lot of brokers and ticket sellers won't even sell your tickets because they're exclusively MGM or exclusively Caesars. So you're really against the eight ball being a small business. They've already got the name, they've already got the money, they've already got the billboards, they've already got everything going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Plus, when they do the Vegas Revue Awards, they've already got 50,000 fans that can vote, ready to go. Like even if you are better, which I believe we were because of the actual reviews on TripAdvisor and stuff like that, which is real reviews, because we were getting higher reviews, I believe we were better.
Well, a lot of those stuff, and a lot of those people don't know, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I mean, when people see like Best of Las Vegas, a lot of that stuff people need to realize is a bought trophy.
Exactly.
That's what it comes down to. So when you see there's a million shows here in Vegas that say Best of Las Vegas, Gold Award, Silver Award, whatever. I mean, I'm not diminishing what those shows are, but
no.
But a lot of that is a bought trophy. I mean, if you're going to legitimately look for a show that you want to go see and get honest reviews, yeah, you go to TripAdvisor or Yelp or some other social media outlet to talk about the actual shows.
Exactly, and don't get me wrong. Of course, there's people on TripAdvisor or Yelp could sabotage it and do shit.
No doubt.
You can get friends to do reviews. There's of course, but you can see a general trend. Like ours was like 350 reviews and 330 of them are 5-star. So like you can see from that okay, this is not just their buddies, this is like or their girlfriends, this is actually people
legit
reviewing the show. And that's we would get more business based off that. But the problem is like, again, financially, if you can't put a billboard at the airport, you're already behind the eight ball because now Chippendales and Thunder already have 5 billboards from when you got off the plane. So if a group of girls are thinking about booking a show, they've already had that implanted in their brain. Then when they get in their Uber or their taxi, there's another 3 billboards on the way to their hotel. And then when they get to their hotel, they've got a booklet from the hotel, which has got that recommending that show at a discounted price. So you're against the eight ball trying to get ticket sales to start with. So it's a really hard uphill battle to run a small show in Vegas, and you get no help from anybody. It's actually
you're on your own. People forget that. People don't realize that Vegas today is not what Vegas was many years ago when the casinos would just flat out pay you to be there. I mean, now a lot of these shows are 4-wall, which means you go into a venue and they're going to say, okay, yeah, Adam, you can bring Aussie Heat into fill in the blank space, but we're going to charge you to rent this space, depending on the contract that you have.
Exactly.
And then you get the tickets and whatever. So, I mean, you've got to not only be responsible for your own promotion, but actually renting the space and even in cases paying the ushers, paying the ticket people and all that stuff too. So there's a lot of
you understand. And that was the problem with David Sachs's deal, was that David Sachs, I have nothing bad to say about David Sachs. He's a professional and he's a businessman and have no personal problem with him at all. But the way the contract was set up, and I didn't sign the original contract, is set up, but it's just really all for the producer, 0% for the show. Like it's like you said, you're paying for the DJ, you're paying $40 an hour for a DJ that's getting $10 an hour. And, because apparently it's going to their workers' comp or their health insurance, which they don't even get. But my point is that, yeah, exactly. It's just a raw. So you're paying all this money out. So our check at the end of the week would, be almost 60 to 70% of the gross check would be taken from David Sachs for rent and for bills and for all that kind of stuff. And then you're scrounging to pay your performers, and then you're trying to find ways to get a little bit of money together to maybe put an ad in a Vegas to Go magazine or heaven forbid you can't afford a billboard or anything like that. But you just try and find as many little marketing little tools as you can find to try and get customers in the door. Like I said, our biggest thing was the proof was in the pudding with our product. People that came to our show loved our show and always had good things to say about our show. So not only did we have reviews, but we had a lot of the ticket sellers, like from Tickets for Tonight or EBG or Vegas.com. If they had seen our show, they would recommend it over the other shows, purely because they're trying to keep their customer happy. So Tickets for Tonight is a very good example. Last year, if you went to any Tickets for Tonight and you said, what male review should I go to? They would all say Aussie Heat, because they just knew that you'd get the most interactive, the best, and the most value for money in your ticket.
Right.
You know, so yeah, but yeah, it's
Well, which
tough.
is good. I mean, because I mean, people are paying good money for tickets here in Las Vegas for shows. I mean, you seldomly see any kind of a show that's going to be, you know, $20 or less. I mean, it's easily 65 or, you know,
Right, or sometimes up
billboards.
to 90. Sometimes up
Absolutely.
to 90, and you know, and you don't get that much for that money. And the truth is that we live in a world that's very desensitized. I've been to. I always tell this story as one of the examples, but I remember I had a friend of mine, Michael, who was the manager at Win Entertainment, and he got me some tickets for La Rev. And I remember going with a couple of the boys and looking around and seeing during the show, people were on their cell phones, like looking at their cell phones, while acrobats are doing stuff that only 10 people in the world can do. And it's amazing, but we're desensitized. We look at YouTube, we look at Netflix or whatever. We've just got so much content in our face that sometimes just sitting at a show and enjoying a basic show isn't really interesting to us. So, and you know, that's of course is like anything back in the 1800s, people would watch slideshows and that would be their evening out for a movie. You know, like
Sure.
if you sent me a slideshow, you'd fall asleep after the second slide, you know, like, so it's all relative, I guess, but you have to keep that into consideration when running a show. That's why I didn't want to just have a stage show. I wanted a show that when you came in, from the moment you came in, you had a chance to meet the guys, get photos with the guys, up close and personal, get lap dances by Aussie dollars, get touch the guys, talk to the guys, all that kind of stuff. After the show, you meet the guys, you get drinks with them. All that was part of the full experience. So it wasn't just $50 to $90 for a ticket to watch some guys move on stage. It was actually a full immersive experience.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the craziest thing? What's the craziest thing that an audience member has done that you can even recall? I can imagine you see it on a nightly basis, but I mean, if you can recall anything that an audience member did where you went, what the hell is going on here?
You know, so you get all the ones from like, you know, girls throwing undies on stage, like opening up their legs when you're emceeing and they open up their legs and you're just looking at a vagina and you're trying to think of what the next line is. So you get all that fun little silly things. I had one girl once when I was walking through the audience, she said to me, I'll give you a lap dance. I'm like, all right. So I sat down. She took a running start, probably 10 yards, ran towards me, did a forward flip, kicked me in the head. I fell off the chair, I didn't break my wrist, but I hurt my wrist so bad I was in a wrap for about 3 weeks. And just like, what the fuck were you thinking? You're not a gymnast. Why did you try and do a forward flip over me? I didn't know that's what she was trying to do. I was just, you know, it was so funny.
Did she get hurt, or did just you get hurt in this process?
Yeah, like, and you know,
So did she get hurt also?
No, she didn't get hurt. She fucking landed fine. I got a kick in the face which didn't hurt, but the wrist was fucked. And you know, like, so yeah, I mean, like all those kind of things, you know, I mean, if I would have to be honest with you and say almost on a nightly basis, there was something that was amazing or crazy. Right. Like you get people and you get some strange individuals, you know, and I don't want to judge anyone
Sure.
for their lifestyle choices or anything like that. That's their own choice. But, you know, people that come 20 times in a month, you know, to a show that is a good show, but I'm like, I wouldn't even watch my favorite movie 5 times in a month. Like, it's like, I don't
like looking in the mirror 2 times during the day.
Yeah, well,
I know what I look like. You don't need to agree with it that quickly. All right. You don't need to be mean. Don't be mean. Don't be mean.
I'm only joking. But no, but you know what I'm saying, Derek,
right.
is like, I don't understand how, like, that. I don't want to judge that because that's not that's not for me to judge if someone wants to do that. But I don't understand that. To me, that says something about someone's mental stability a little bit. You know, we had really lovely things happen. Like I had this one gay guy come to the show by himself, and he, you know, he was really nervous, and we were so nice to him. We're just, you know, nice to everybody, but we were just nice to him. And he wrote a letter saying that week he was suicidal, and just the fact that a bunch of 7 hot Aussie guys had given him some attention and been to him made him not want to kill himself. And like, so that was huge for us, as just a nice way that you can help someone that you don't know what they're going through, or you don't know what they are in their life. So we would always make sure, no matter how strange the person is, we would give them 100% love and attention and wouldn't laugh at them or treat them badly. but it just still is strange, some people's behavior. And I think probably the most interesting thing, even going back to my days when I was in my early 20s in the other show, what I find fascinating is how crazy women go when they're given some sort of, room to go crazy.
Right.
Like some of the girls, for example, they get so drunk, they just grab your junk. They just grab it. Don't no like subtlety or like any. They just run up and grab your balls and cock and
Animals.
yeah,
They're
animals.
animals.
Like yeah. But and so
Ladies, come on.
my problem
Settle
with
down a
that
little bit.
is that if I did that in a female strip club, I'd be in jail. But in a male thing, it's like it's just we laugh it off and you joke about it. But kind of piss. It's like I didn't give you permission to do that. If you squeeze
Right.
too hard, it hurts. Girls when you're giving them lap dances, sometimes they. Girls when you're giving them lap dances, don't bite your nipples and they do all crazy stuff that's just uncalled for. And don't get me wrong. I'm sure if you interviewed a female stripper at Sapphire, she would have some horrendous stories as well. But
I'm sure.
But again, like society in general, the majority are fantastic. It's just every now and again you get one person. And actually, as an MC, one of the hardest things to ever deal with is a super drunk girl. You can deal with a drunk guy really easily, but a drunk girl is so tough because you can't really, as a man, it feels very wrong to like abuse or call a girl a name. You've got to be very gentle and nice. So I would always try and find fun ways of like asking the rest of the audience, does everyone want this girl to be quiet? Or, something
Right.
along those lines. If it was a guy, I say, shut the fuck up, you dickhead, or get out. Like, I wouldn't
Look
be
like
so
a comedy
worried
show.
about it.
Same situation. Yeah.
Yeah, but with the comedy show, exactly. And so with hecklers and stuff. So it was very frustrating from time to time. But that was, again, so rare. The majority of people are awesome and they come and they have fun and they're very respectful and but just because you asked,
Right.
the wild things, I had to bring up some of the crazy people.
Well, then you guys stay in incredible shape. I mean, I think, every time we hang out, I mean, you don't drink now. I mean, I hung out with you at a Super Bowl party and at a mutual friend of ours' house. And I think you had like a chip with a little bit of salsa on it. And that was it.
No,
You were there.
it's not.
You were there with your wife. You didn't have. What did you have? What?
Well, I'm
A cherry
vegetarian.
tomato, maybe. I mean, you keep yourself in. You guys all keep yourself in amazing shape. What kind of a workout regimen do you have? I mean, when this show is going full tilt, obviously during the pandemic, nothing's happening right now, which to me would be a great opportunity to eat pizza and become the fat bastard that I am. But I mean, for you guys, I mean, do you guys have a set workout schedule, or does everybody kind of do their own thing?
So it varies. Our show, we tried from the start not to be focused just on the body, and because it's one element of about 20 that the girls want to look at.
Right.
They don't just got like, you've just got a guy that is good looking with a good body, you're going to entertain girls for about 5 minutes. You've got to have more. You got a personality, you got to dance moves, you got to have other things that go along with that. So we try and cultivate the whole element, not just focus on just being low body fat or something, or just being big muscular. But that being said, yes, all the guys have to be in shape. Every single one of the guys, obviously when we run the castings or stuff, we don't hire people that are not in shape already most of the time. A couple of the guys that I hired, they weren't in the best shape, but they were still in good shape. And then you just advise them, to cut out the carbs and to do a bit more cardio, and they drop that body fat, and then you're good. For me personally, since the military, I've worked out my whole life. I had never put too much focus on it. I'm always the type of person that less is more. So instead of trying to go on a diet where you're eating kale, maybe just take out the 4 or 5 of the fried sugary foods that you have, and don't torture yourself. Or like with exercise, don't go to the gym and try and run 10K on your first day. Just build up to it. Do a mile a day and build up to, every week, add half a mile to your walk. And, so it's like a slow build and you get more motivation that way. Or find ways to keep lean, like sport. Like I don't even really go to the gym anymore. I just play tennis, or before my injury, I've just played tennis and some stuff like that. So I think the problem with people with trying to look a certain way is that they get overwhelmed, and so they set these unrealistic goals, and then they end up not achieving them, and then they just end up saying, well, that's not for me, as opposed to just maybe making some small shifts in lifestyle that eventually get you to that goal. And they may take a little bit longer, but it's more sustainable. So my belief has always been, especially recently, has always been, if I'm a little bit more body fat than the average person, but I'm not stressed out, that's probably better than if I'm weighing my chicken every morning and I'm like, stressed about the fact that I'm not 4%, that I'm 5%.
Right.
No girl comes to a show and is like, he could be a tiny bit leaner. Like, that doesn't happen. Like, unless obviously if you're overweight, that's no good for the show, of course, but you wouldn't have been hired. But I just think that less emphasis is put on it than you think in that regards. That being said, a lot of the guys, and I'm
well,
not
then you didn't say that to me during my audition with you. You were very, very harsh, and
that's true.
I still stay up at night thinking about that. I cry quite often.
I told you to get the fuck out of here.
Biting my pillow. I believe that's how it was phrased, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think that was what I said.
That was on the review. Get the fuck out of here.
I said, do not come back ever again.
I tortured you by going to 20 consecutive shows, and that's why we're talking about this now. Just say it was me coming to see you. Exactly.
And not to throw anyone under the bus by any means, but steroids is obviously a big part of the way these guys look. And when I say steroids, it's not like they just inject steroids and they look fucking amazing. Steroids is like a supplement. It's like a way
for recovery.
Exactly. It's a way for them to train more. It's a way for them to get everything out of their body that they can when they're training. If you're just taking steroids and not going to the gym, well, then you're not getting the result anyway.
No.
So, and I'm not saying I'm a pro steroid person or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, when people want to judge people that take steroids, they should know the whole picture. Because sometimes your body gets to a certain plateau or a certain point where it's very difficult to get gains without like driving yourself crazy. So you just, a little bit of supplement with some testosterone or, a slight Anavar or some sort of steroid that will help the guys is good too. And don't be fooled thinking that I'm not saying everybody is, but don't be fooled thinking that nobody is, because it's very, very rampant in that industry.
No, absolutely. Well, I know one of the things that guys mentioned, you mentioned that you had a gentleman at the show who was gay, and whenever you talk about a male dance review, whenever you talk to a bunch of straight guys, and they're like, "Oh, my wife's going to go see some male dance review," and the guys go, they're all gay. Now, that's like a typical default dumb guy thing to say. To make himself feel better about the fact that his wife is going to go see these oiled up, jacked, good looking dudes. Now, obviously there are gay guys involved in the production, which is whatever. I mean, everybody's got their own lifestyle. I don't care.
Yep.
I mean, as a straight man, is there any level of oddness working with somebody who's gay? I mean, if you're naked in the changing room, looking at another straight man, that's like being in a locker room. It's no big deal. But all of a sudden, a gay dude's looking at you like you're a big piece of steak and you're in prison.
The truth, you don't think about it. No, performers, like when I was younger, I used to do a little bit of modeling, and the modeling, the jobs that I would get the most would be showings and fittings, and that's where you would make a lot of the money. People think models make their money from magazines and billboards and stuff, and they do, but the main way models around the world make money is a lot of the times is showings and fittings, and that's internal company, showings and stuff like that. Now, there'd be gorgeous girls backstage, and they're getting naked real quick because everything's got to be done quick. You're backstage.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong. Every part of my neck is trying to hold my head from turning to look at the girl's bum as she's taking her pants off. But you just don't do it. And you might peripherally get a little glimpse or something, just because you're human. But it's not like you stand there staring and like take pictures or, it doesn't work that way. And it's a professionalism that's just understood. Same as a gay guy.
Well, it can't work that way, but then the cops come by and remove you.
Exactly.
Not that I know about that from firsthand experience, mind you.
Yes, exactly. Me too. But no, so you don't think about it, and honestly, that perception of like all we only had one, maybe two gay guys perform for us in the entire 5 years that we ran the show,
Right.
and they weren't even the full-time guys. I know that Chippendales had 2 or 3 gay guys. Thunder had 1 maybe in the time
Right.
that, and you know, so it's not as common as is portrayed. And you know, dancers in general tend to be seen as being gay, and I think that's just because it's an arts and it's something that
Right.
gay people tend to lean towards. But you know, we had 3 or 4 dancers, professional dancers, 1 ballerina in our show, and every night after the show, because he would do a pirouette, every night after the show, I'd have 4 or 5 girls come up and go, is he gay? Is he gay? And he's not. He's married, and I,
Sure.
you know, and he's not hiding. I could tell you if he was, if I thought, oh no, I think this guy's like pretending to be straight. No, he's 100% straight. He's
Right.
just a dancer. He just can do a pirouette. I think doing a pirouette looks weird, and I wouldn't really want to do it, but it doesn't automatically just mean ticks a box. You're gay. You did a pirouette. You know, like, you know, like it's like. It's funny how as a society, I used to laugh about that actually when I did my 1 stand-up, which sucked. I did it with Edwin at the V Theatre. I did a joke about that. My dad used to be like that. You put hair gel in, and my dad would be, "What are you, fucking gay? What are you putting hair gel in?" You know, I'm like, "Dad, putting hair gel in is so I can go pick up girls," which is the opposite of fucking gay. You know, like, so. But it's funny how as a society we think of these certain things
Right.
makes you your sexual orientation, and it's just not true. But that being said, no, in answer to your question, absolutely not. None of us worry about it at all. Never have, never will.
Right.
And yeah, and I mean, if there was a guy that we hired and he was a bit creepy and doing stuff like that, we would get rid of him, because it would be the same as if you had a guy with girl performers,
Sure.
and the guy was perving on the girls, you'd get rid of him too.
Right.
So it's yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's part of life. You just got to get used to it.
No, exactly. Well, you're an entrepreneur. You've branched out from being a part of Aussie Heat into getting into your own CBD.
Yeah.
And your own division, your own little company called Green Barr, and so you're doing that right now, which is fantastic. I know you're super excited about that. I mean, what's the thing with your product that's separating it from everything else that's out there?
So I'll give you a tiny bit of backstory. So yes, I 5 years ago, I'd never touched marijuana at all in my life. I was an athlete, and I was against, not that I had a problem with other people doing it. My brother smoked pot since he was 12, but I just wouldn't do it myself. I didn't drink alcohol, don't take drugs at all. So that was my stance. And I had a little bit of trouble sleeping. One of my friends recommended trying some pot, and I did. This was back when I was in LA. It worked beautifully. It helped me just relax at the end of the night. And so I really enjoyed it. So I decided to sort of create a line of products for athletes that were maybe about cannabis being a gateway drug, or a drug that, you know, all this kind of stuff, that all these misconceptions that had been placed on the drug. So I wanted to create a line of products that were conducive to performing and entertaining and doing, you know, like the lifestyle that I lived. So I created a line of products. The problem is that, you know, I finished the website, I created all the products, I did all the labels, I did all the bottles. It took me years, thousands and thousands of dollars. You know, it's a big difference between having a line of products and getting them in stores and development and all that kind of stuff. And running Aussie Heat just took up all my time and all my energy. And it's very difficult to put your energy into two. So I'm one of these people that when I'm doing something, the blinders are on and I'm focused on that thing. It's very hard for me to then jump to other things and back to this thing. And so Green Bar got put on hold a little bit. And not actually in a detrimental way, because legislation hasn't fallen where I thought it would as quickly as it would, whether that's Trump administration or whatever. It doesn't matter. Regardless, federally, it's still a Schedule 1 drug. So I'm unable to sell cannabis. CBD, yes, but CBD is effective and is a fantastic, helpful drug. But I want my business to be able to have THC and CBD, because a lot of the products require a little bit extra. So I'm waiting for that legislation but everything's ready to go.
So right now you can't sell anything legally right now.
I don't sell anything. No, I give products donations. If anyone of your people want a free sample of products, that I can get you some products. And we do a turmeric tea with black pepper and matcha, which has coconut oil and cannabis in it. We do a little tablet, which is coconut powder. Tablet, which is really great. We have a magnesium spray, which goes on your body and you absorb the magnesium, because the best way to absorb magnesium is transdermally. And then we've got other products in the line that are coming along, some elixir little shots and sleep and workout and all these different elixirs. So we've got stuff.
So can they go to the website? So can they go to the website to find the stuff and then reach out to you to see what they want?
Absolutely. It's greenbar.com, and the Instagram is greenbar2020. And if anyone wants to follow the Instagram and just follow the go onto the website, they can go check it out. But yeah, but I don't want that to be a sales pitch whatsoever. It's not that at all. It's just I want people to be able, I want people to be able to enjoy that product, and I want people to be educated about cannabis and about the benefits of it. I'm actually starting a new business next year as a life coach, and so I'm going to be incorporating health and wellness coaching, and it's going to be also, I'm going to incorporate cannabis into that curriculum because I feel like it is very beneficial for athletes in their recovery, because sleep is important, muscular recovery, relaxation, stretching. A lot of the times people want to finish a hard workout, they want to do some stretching. You take a little bit of turmeric tea, it relaxes the muscles, it allows you to get deeper into your stretch. So it's really in conjunction with the whole lifestyle.
You're so passionate about it. I mean, we've talked about this on a number of occasions about this industry and what you've done and the passion that you have for it and what you've developed and where your mindset is about actually genuinely having a legitimate, solid, good product out there for people to take. That's going to be, that's all natural. That's as pure as it can possibly be, because there's so much stuff watered down in that industry right now.
Absolutely. And there's so many misconceptions, and there's so many, there's still that. Don't get me wrong, I like to smoke a joint at nighttime, get high, play some Ghost of Tsushima and watch a movie. It's great, but that's not the only area. Like, that is one area that can be enjoyed for it, but it's not the only area. It's kind of like alcohol. You could drink a bottle of vodka and pass out on your couch if you're an alcoholic, or you
I'm
could
right here.
I'm right here. Yeah, but sorry, forgot you were there. But or you could go have a couple of drinks with your friends at a bar and have a good time. Not right now, but you could, right? So alcohol can be used in different ways. And cannabis the same way. Just cannabis has a hell of a lot more medical benefits and lifestyle health benefits than people are aware of, and that's all I'm trying to make. And again, it's not for everybody. I tell people all the time, I'll never judge. I'm vegetarian and I don't drink alcohol. I'll never judge anyone for drinking alcohol. I'll never judge anyone for eating meat. That's your own choice. We all make our own choices in life. If you're one of these people that's like, I'm vegetarian, you should be vegetarian because animals are treated cruelly. No, that's everyone's individual choice. If you're going to tell people what to do, you're a dictator. Like, fuck that shit.
Right.
If you want to tell people, hey, I've gotten a lot of benefits from doing this, you should give it a try. Maybe that's
give it a shot. If you like it, keep doing it. If you don't like it and it's not making you happy and you're craving a cheeseburger and a beer, then go back to your cheeseburger and beer, whatever you got to do. I mean, if you're eating carrots and you just want to punch your dog, I mean, no, it's like,
I mean, and happiness is the key. This is what I talked about with the diet thing before too. If you're going to drive yourself crazy, like by weighing your chicken every morning, and you're going to have a mental breakdown, or you're going to get stressed out by, you're not losing weight fast enough, that's going to be worse for your body than any amount of good food would be. So it's a balance. It's like finding this balance of like happiness and health and wellness. And that's why I want to start this new business with the life coaching and stuff. I'm doing a life coaching course right now. And I feel like, even though it sounds a bit douchey, I feel like it's a way of the future moving forward, especially after these, pandemic and the way the world's going to change, so.
What sounds douchey about that?
What's that?
What sounds douchey about that? What, that you want to be a life coach?
Yeah, some people see it as like, oh my God, what is that? It's douchey or whatever. But I think that it's important in life because, like,
I think a lot of these rioters and looters could use some life coaching.
Right? I agree. I think a lot of
if you're that much of an asshole where you're throwing bricks and frozen bottles of water at cops, I mean, you need a life coach. You need
100%.
You need some green bar. You need green bar stuff to calm the fuck down. and you need Adam to fucking talk you through it.
I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I don't disagree. But the truth is I'll give you an example of how I see life coaching. Okay, so life coaching is if you are below zero in your functioning as a human, you probably need a psychologist or a therapist. If you're from 0 to 10, anywhere from 0 to 10, then you can have a life coach. So what I mean by that is that if your PTSD is acting up and you're in Afghanistan and you're having trouble, you need a psychologist. You don't need a life coach, right?
Right.
You need someone with professional training and years of work to get that. If you're someone that just wants to have a better career, or someone that wants to be a bit healthier, or someone that wants to stop being such a dickhead and looting, then maybe you need a life coach. You need someone that can advise you in areas that they may know a lot about, and they can just guide you in those areas. That's why I think life coaching is going to be a big thing in the future, because people are lost, in a lot of regards.
People are lost, especially during all the stuff that's going down. I mean, whether it's the pandemic or the just the unrest that everyone's experiencing right now, the anxiety, and you make a solid point. I mean, there's a lot of things that are very, very wrong with a lot of people, and I think it helps to have somebody that can kind of get you, refocused with that. So.
Yeah, like and I don't want any of this to get political or anything, this conversation at all, but my feeling is like, say, for example, like a lot of the mass shootings, like, why did we cut medical funding for fucking psychology and for mental health? Like, this is stupid. It's so important that we pump extra money into that, because we need extra money for mental health, extra money for talking to these fucking lunatics and trying to get them early and like get them when they're still young enough so that we can help them, because people can be helped. It's been proven that you can be helped. It's not like, it's a death sentence for these people when they have mental problems. Kanye West needs a fucking psychologist. People that they're just off the fucking rocker.
Yes, he does.
He desperately needs to get back on his meds. Like, it's just like, so that's proof. I used to love Kanye's music, and I can't even listen to it anymore because I just think of this nutcase I'm watching. And I feel bad about that, because clearly he wasn't always a nutcase. He just has developed some mental problems that he needs treatment or medication for. So, like, it frustrates the hell out of me when we cut funding for those type of things, man. It really does. So anyway, I want to.
No, you're very passionate about everything that you do. Is always, like I said, I mean, talking to you, we go out on hikes and stuff like that, and just, I mean, it's always a great conversation. You can always tell your energy. I mean, you are just laser focused on whatever your passion is and whatever you're focused on, and that's fantastic, man. I think that's great. I mean, good for you. Where can your website, obviously greenbar.com for that. Is there any other places online that people can find you?
Oh yeah, so just Adam Barr 8 is my Instagram. I don't use Facebook anymore, really, because it's just been bombarded with crap, and I just can't stand it. I get on there and I get frustrated these days. Like, I still use it, but I just get so frustrated with the disinformation and misinformation campaigns. But so Facebook, and I use Instagram. I still use at Adam Barr 8 is my handle at Instagram. And then I'm going to be obviously launching this. Raise the Bar is going to be the name of my life coaching business. But that's going to probably be launched next year. So for now, just greenbar.com, or
it'll be on your social media stuff anyway when you go ahead and launch that anyway. It'll be on your Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. I'll keep people informed of that, and I'm hoping, I'm actually currently I've resigned from Aussie Heat. We'll talk about that in a second. But like, after resigning for Aussie Heat, I went ahead and started doing my property and casualty insurance course, because my buddy runs a farmer's insurance thing. And so I was going to start working with him just for now during the pandemic, because there's obviously, I don't think shows are coming back for this year. So, so I did that. But that's not the end game. That's just, let's make some money now. And then the end game is next year, get this life coaching, combine it with the Green Bar, and have a really health and wellness company that helps people, that need just a little bit of guidance. Yeah.
Well, and the whole thing is with you is, I mean, you've kept such an incredibly healthy lifestyle, and the fact that you've had the attitude that you have, and the fact that you're realizing that you don't see these shows coming back anytime soon. you're like, okay, look, I got to make some money now. I'm going to go ahead and take this, insurance class and do that just to make some money in the meantime while these other projects are taking off. What
Exactly.
As we do kind of wrap up here, why did you end up resigning from Aussie Heat? Was it because of the pandemic that you don't think these shows are going to come back?
Essentially COVID fucked everyone. So yeah, but look. The truth is I'll be a real quick version of the story because I don't want to drag it out. But I was in London in January for a job, and I saw all over the news, the international news, how COVID was affecting Italy and how it was affecting like parts of Europe and China. And it really concerned me. I came back immediately and I spoke with the other owners and I said, guys, this pandemic is not going to be good. We need to start making some contingency plans now because this is going to hurt us. Mind you, we had just started a massive campaign with 7 billboards, radio ads. We just moved to a new theater, the Mosaic on the Strip, right opposite MGM. And we were like pumping. We were ready to go. We created a brand new show. We had, thousands and thousands of dollars invested in costumes and all different stuff. And I'd worked my ass off for the last 2 years to get to that point. We finally got to that point, and I knew that it was just, there was a tsunami coming and I just needed to warn everybody. So I was screaming from the rooftops. But at the time, everyone was, oh, it's just a flu. Don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. And like giving me this kind of talk. And I'm like, guys, I'm not trying to be an alarmist. I'm not a MSNBC, CNN watcher, but like, I'm not an alarmist, but this is definitely going to affect our business one way or another. Let's come up with some contingencies. Anyway, they didn't, to my frustration. But then eventually I said they're going to shut down the whole strip. So I don't care what you're going to do. They're going to shut down the strip. Again, laughed at, mocked. I said, guys, it's
I'll tell you what, you were one of the few people that called that one. I would have never guessed in a million years they were going to shut down the strip completely. But you obviously seen what was happening over in London. I mean, that you saw a different perspective and saw what was rolling down the pike.
Exactly. I was just looking at the trajectory and I wasn't attaching emotion to it, because if I attached emotion to it, I would have tried to hang on because I didn't want to lose years and money and thousands of dollars. So I was attaching, like I was trying to follow science. I was following the trajectory and the numbers. And I was, trusting that the numbers are real, which some people don't believe they are, but I just was trusting that the numbers are real and based my decisions off those numbers. So then, by the time the pandemic sort of hit around April and we're all locked down, the boys were like, we want to reopen. And I said, it's not going to happen. You're wasting your energy and your time. Anyway, they tried to set a reopening date for June. And I said, I don't want to be part of it. I said, all you're going to do is you're going to open up and you're going to have to close again, or you're going to embarrass yourself. Yeah. And so we really parted ways, and that I didn't resign at that point, but I said, I don't want any part of it. I don't want my name involved with it. I spent far too long to have our name be destroyed. They set a date for the 1st of July. It ended up being the 9th of July. And then they had a big article written about them in the Revue Journal in Las Vegas. And we got tons of bad reviews because they had to cancel the show, which was inevitable, which I was telling them back in April. And so, because you just have to look at the trajectory. If America had handled it like New Zealand or Iceland or Germany or maybe we could have opened up shows, maybe. But because America has handled the pandemic so badly, I knew that there was no way that phase 3 shows would be opening anytime this year. And it's and now the trajectory is even worse. Like now we've got an all-time high hospitalizations and our numbers are, I was worried when our numbers were in the hundreds. Now they're hitting the thousands. Like it's really problematic for a business like mine. And, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not political at all. I'm not a political person. I don't like.
No, exactly. I mean, it's just having the business acumen to see, again, you were just flat out looking at spreadsheets and numbers and going, okay, I see this not ending well for any of us. And I am not going to be sitting here on the deck of the Titanic when the bow raises and it starts to go dropping into the North Atlantic.
Exactly. But now still, so that's why I've resigned, because still they're acting off emotion. They're not acting off they're still trying to open. They still think that they're going to open. I'm like, guys, even when we do open, there's going to be hardly anyone coming. I worked my ass off day and night with every single broker in town. I had 150 brokers I'd work with. I would work 8-hour days working on marketing and numbers and figures so that we could get just enough money to pay for those billboards and survive, right? That was during a peak time when there was 42 million people a year coming into Las Vegas, and we were barely surviving. My thought is now it's going to be years before we recover from that economically, but also just as a state, I mean, we're shut off for the rest of the world. We can't go to other countries, let alone people planning to come here. So, you know, a big part of Las Vegas tourism is international guests. And if they're not coming, yeah, you can have some local people come from time to time, but you're not going to get the volume of people. And if you're not,
you got to rely on your out of town people coming through. There's no doubt. The locals can support you to a point, but they're not going to.
Not a show in Vegas
going on. No, absolutely.
A one-off show, yeah. A one-off, if you do a one-off once a month, something like that, yeah, maybe the locals can support you, but not a consistent 5-6 day a week show. It's just impossible without international or like a large amount of people traveling. And now that the pandemic is raging even worse and the numbers are 70,000 a day or whatever they are, the states are going to start shutting down more, and it's just going to get worse and worse. And so we're looking at a grim future, and not to be all doom and gloom, because I hate being the negative one just because I'm providing information that's in everyone's face. I'm just saying This is the facts. Like, if you're not going to go from 70,000 cases a day down to 1,000. It's just not going to happen. Even if we started dropping.
No, you're right. Yeah, it's not going to drop down to nothing, and then all of a sudden people aren't just going to start flooding into Las Vegas because the numbers drop. So, you know, it's a long, slow recovery that's going to take place. And I mean, I wish the guys in Aussie Heat and everybody else nothing but the best. And I hope that the show comes back and it ends up kicking ass. Now,
they're still all my friends, by the way. I still love them all. They're still all my friends. We have no there's no personal problem at all. Just
last question here. When and if a woman grabs my junk really hard, what is the best way to take care of that? Do I ice my boys, or what do I do?
Well, I would say individually icing them at the same time is not smart because you can freeze them together. Gotcha. You've heard about the ball freeze thing, like it was a ball freeze.
I did not, but you know, I'm writing it down now. The big ball freeze of Australia, is that another one of those bullshit Australian stories that you tell people that their nuts freeze if they hit a certain?
Everything I say is bullshit. So if you
know.
If anyone's watching this right now, 56 minutes of bullshit is what you've just heard.
Dude, you are awesome. I wish you nothing but success with Green Bar and the life coach and everything else that you have going. Follow this guy. He's fantastic, and he has great advice to clean up any damage to your testicular region.
It's the best advice you'll find.
You're awesome, man. Take care, buddy. Thanks again.
Thanks, Derek. See you, brother.